Can you hear me now?
Magic, yes.
You do? You hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
I hear you great.
In your ears?
In my ears.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have to do a lot of adjusting. It popped right up. I'm like, okay.
That? It's another freaky Friday, the end of this work week, the beginning of a weekend with only 3.5 work week ahead of us. It's going to be 3.5 days next week. Wait and see. Then we go full tilt to celebrate the independence our forefathers gave us in their great escape from Great Britain. The 4th of July, Independence Day, is but 1 week from today. Wow, how did it get here so fast? What happened to the first part of this year? I mean, after January, February, and March, it ran for eight months, I think. You might want to pick up your watermelons, your hot dogs, and hamburgers with all the trimming, sunscreen, refreshments, and those obnoxious fireworks you insist on setting off to make your neighbors mad. That's just a week from today, y'all. So
that's right.
Get your mess together. We got
to look forward to.
We got to celebrate. We got to remember what this is all about. No gunfire, please. Don't shoot guns up in the air. Bullets go up, they come down.
Maybe we can get Uncle Sam to come back in.
Who?
Uncle Sam. Remember we had him. Was it last year or year before we had Uncle Sam? Must have been last year.
Okay.
That's our friend Mark from the sheriff's office.
You think I'm going to remember back that far?
Sure you will.
Yeah, okay. Mark could come in.
I'll ask him. He came in, and I'll tell you what, he had a lot of good information.
And that's always great.
Yeah.
We need a special 4th of July show. And
we should do that.
Event shows, and it's not just about calling them holidays, about celebrations.
Right.
And then we're here to celebrate. And here in this country, we celebrate with fireworks quite often. I celebrate with food all the time. So that's a good thing, I guess.
I celebrate with just laying on the couch in the heat from the heat.
Back at the ranch, back to Friday. Heading for a scorcher of a day that will be with us all weekend long. It's the 27th day of the month of June, the last weekend in this 6th month of the year, and that leaves us with a couple days plus 6 months until 2026.
What is the date today? I'm so confused.
That's midterm.
It was the 27th.
That's what I just said. And then we got midterm elections next year. Oh, joy.
Oh, joy.
Yeah, I got every congressman running for re-election that wants to be re-elected.
Oh, it's going to be North Carolina is going to be interesting this year because you've got one running against Tom Tillis, which that happens every so often because he's up for re-election.
Yeah, the Senate, those guys hold their seats for 6 years. Congressmen, representatives, U.S. representatives, they hold their seats for 2 years. And then they try to hang on for dear life for another 2 years. Yeah, it would be a mess. They have to campaign pretty much the entire time that they're not working, that they're not in session, they're out campaigning.
Exactly. Well, I have a feeling, though, the Phil Berger, Sam Page race is going to be nasty this year. Sam Page, he's the sheriff in Rockingham County. Yeah, he's Kelly sheriff. And then Phil Berger is he's running.
My sheriff.
He's running for a congressional seat, a U.S. congressional seat, and I find it really kind of strange that all of a sudden you're hearing negative stories coming out about someone that works at the sheriff's office or something in Rockingham County that has to do with management by the sheriff. And I'm like,
did you see too many cars out there on the road the other day? And 3 of them were sitting there together in the parking lot.
Already, I can see the mud from one side. Yeah. Already.
A little hysteria today. That's called history.
Okay.
Back on this date, 1950, President Harry S. Truman, give him hell, Harry. The book stops here. Announced that he is ordering U.S. air and naval forces to South Korea to help the democratic nation in repulsing an invasion by communist North Korea. The North Koreans, they marched across and started shooting across the 38th parallel earlier in the week.
Right.
That week. So, the United States was asked to assist, as were other countries involved with the UN. at the time. Russia was the only country that was not present when they took a vote to help South Korea. Why did it take that many countries that long, 2-3 years before North Korea said enough is enough? We're going to sign. We're not going to sign a treaty. We're not going to surrender, but we'll sign a truce. We'll just stop shooting. So they've been under a ceasefire since 1953, a ceasefire agreement since 1953. Suppose anybody actually just every now and then pops off around up there at the border. We've had troops stationed there. I've known a lot of guys. A great friend of mine, a late friend of mine, he was up there on that border even in the 70s, 80s, early 80s. I guess it would have been the 80s. He wasn't old enough in the 70s, but he was there and in the Army as a Louis, second lieutenant.
Wow.
And some things would happen from time to time. People would try to get into this country. And how about all those people who accidentally, and I don't know how they would have done it, because I would imagine along that border with North Korea, I don't know, except a little small portion of it, I would imagine they've got North Korean soldiers pretty much all along the border.
I'm sure
there are signs there saying, do not do this. If you can read this, you're too close, that kind of thing.
Turn around and go home.
Yeah. Bullets are next, whatever. Hey, I can make up some really good signs for your house, outside your house. If you can read this, bullets are next.
Oh my gosh.
It would be fun to create a bunch
I
of
used to have
signs
a
like
sign.
this.
It said, I have PMS, I have a 357.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, oh, okay.
You never know. You never can tell.
An angry woman.
Aren't they? No, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up.
When-
Don't make them any madder than they already are. Right, gentlemen? Ugh. Okay, going to get a little serious here. Going to bring you up to speed. After one of our callers yesterday brought to our attention
Yes.
that the apprehension of an illegal immigrant that had slipped into the United States back in 1990, I went looking for the video that Theo, our regular guy, love Theo, said showed federal agents assaulting this dude. The man's identified as Narciso Barranco. He was spotted working on the grass, he's a landscaper type, at a restaurant in Santa Ana, California, by federal agents. Once confronted, Barranco sprinted, took off a running, holding a weed whacker that agents said he was threatening them with. I can look at that and say, okay, yes. And I also know that there have been people who have been shot for doing something like that, like pulling out a chainsaw, cranking it up, and moving towards people to threaten them. Then people you get shot for doing things like that. But they did the right thing there. They didn't shoot him. First came claims that he didn't even know who these men were. He couldn't identify them. Well, they were wearing masks. Yes, they were wearing sidearms, pistols. They were wearing body armor. And on the front of that body armor, I pulled it up. I enlarged it. The video was awful. It was shot with somebody's cell phone.
Oh.
On the front of that body armor, there were badges on each one of them. And the branch of law enforcement, ICE or immigration or whatever, was emblazoned on the front of those vests. Don't tell me you don't know that they're federal agents. Okay, you can't do that. That you can't get away with that. Does not work. So the video, yes, was grainy and very poor quality, typical telephone quality that makes identifying intricate details pretty difficult. But I was able to do it here with the magic of computers. Oh God, those things. The agents then tackled the man who was, without any doubt, resisting them. He was resisting them. One man could take you down. 99 times out of 100, one law enforcement officer can bring you to your knees. He will put you on the ground. One whack with a nightstick and you're down. They don't do that generally. That's the reason they have several is to hold you to keep you from getting hurt yourself. He was on the ground. He continued to resist. That's when what I can make out in the video disturbed me. Then I got disturbed.
Uh-oh.
The video was grainy,
Right.
difficult to see the details, but it appears to me that while the man was on the ground, one of the agents slapped or punched him. Could have been slapping at the guy's hands who was still resisting, but it certainly could have been the agent slapping or punching the man in the face or head just as well. Once his hands were secured, right after that, he was helped up to his feet and pushed towards the van. Yes, he continued to resist, trying to push away. First of all, I got you in handcuffs and there are 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 of us there. What are you going to do? Not get in the van like you're told to do? Or are you going to say, okay, I don't want to get hurt. I don't want you to have to force me in there. Just help me, I'll get in. But he didn't. So they had to push him in the van. That's not a problem.
Right.
They did it as gently as one would imagine they could do it. But the federal officers had him under control. He could resist, but he posed no threat to them, and no additional punches were thrown that were visible. I couldn't see any. Again, until the agents had the man on the ground, with the only thing left for them to do was to secure his hands, all was well. However, on the ground, with several of the agents having their hands on him, holding him down, trying to control his hands and flailing arms, there was absolutely no valid reason that was visible in the video that I saw to strike Barranco in the face or hands or head. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Got you so far.
They use their hands. They did
Right.
not use a stick, a nightstick, or anything
Right.
else. No batons. Headquarters, that's Department of Homeland Security, claims the man was a threat with a weed whacker. I cannot argue with that. He did pose a threat, but not enough for them to shoot him or take physical action with him, just to tackle him. Security. But he was not aggressively charging these people, so I'm not sure how much of a viable threat that he was. If that's the best explanation that DHS can come up with, they need to relook at the video that I looked at,
Right.
because it's all over the internet. It points to the fact that he knew he was wanted. He knew he was wanted. He knew why those guys were there.
Mhm.
He knew that he was in this country illegally, and he had likely feared this day was from time he arrived in 1990. Illegal aliens have feared the man since the time they crossed the border, right?
Sure. Yes.
We've heard about it.
Oh, yes.
His presence was illegal. The agents were doing the job they were assigned to do, and all was fine until the one man slapped or punched Barranco in the face or head, if that's exactly where it went. I'm going to say it looks that way. Without justification, this agent's supervisors should take punitive steps towards the agent. If he has other similar situations, this could become his final straw. I don't know. You know, they usually build. I've heard nothing official, but the only reason to become physical under the conditions that I was watching would have been if the man bit or tried to bite the agent, which is a common occurrence. I did not see that occurring. I would not have been able to see it. And no one said anything about it. So if it now comes out as a defense several days later,
Right.
too late.
Right.
That agent should have put that in there, and he should have charged the man with assault
Oh, sure.
on
Yes.
a federal agent by biting. That should have been a criminal offense, okay? Not just round them up, head them up, move them out.
Right.
So I haven't seen anything to that effect, and I think now it would be a little bit late to jump on the bandwagon with that. That's the only defense I could think of that the guy would have ever had. As for the man having 3 sons in the Marine Corps, yes, he does. Thank you. Nothing about being illegal or producing great sons makes him a bad person.
Very true.
Got it? but he's still illegal.
True.
All right. Hopefully, if his history in the United States is as clean as is being claimed, our government will work to assist him, or they should. It's too bad he did not take the steps necessary a couple decades ago to make that happen. One of his Marine sons says his dad had applied, whatever, for what, I don't know, but he had applied. No evidence of that has actually been offered. What I don't know about that, I can't discuss with any intelligence whatsoever. Just one of them, I don't know.
Exactly.
Son can say whatever he wants to say. It's okay. He's defending his daddy. I'm okay with that.
Right. I would be too.
Show me the proof.
And you know, Rayford, we discuss this every single day. Mainstream media. It depends on who it is. You get a spin, so many different spins on one story. And I will say that if it's something that could be made to be even more dastardly, that you have news organizations that put such a spin on it.
I just, if he's done something wonderful with his life during these years, fine. The problem is, for the last 35 years, he's been living in this country illegally.
Sure.
And he has, obviously, he's contributed to society, but he hasn't contributed. He has not contributed the money he makes. He doesn't pay taxes on it.
I was just going to say, how does that work? Because if he's never become a legal citizen of the United States and he's working, he's not paying taxes.
And obviously, it's under the table, because you can rest assured that this IHOP that he was cutting the grass and trimming the bushes and stuff.
Right.
It had to be a cash deal. Otherwise they would have had to have information from him so they could file it on their returns. And therefore, hiring a lawn guy to mow your lawn or something, you're not going to do that.
No.
If you hire a housekeeper that's going to be your housekeeper 24 hours a day or 5 days of the week to come in and take care of you, that becomes basically a full-time employee, and you are supposed to take care of that. You're supposed to pay your share of taxes. There are things that you got to do if you're an employer, and if you have a full-time butler or maid or whatever, or a pool guy, and they work exclusively for you, you have responsibilities yourself. Now, we've had congressmen, congresswomen who have hired help like that. I'm not even going to say what name I can recall, because I can't. I don't know which one it was. I don't know that she's still in Congress or in the Senate, but there was a big spiel about that 10, 15 years ago. She had full-time employees. They were all illegals.
Well,
right. Yeah. Okay. Now, but she's up there and doing this, and you're violating the law, lady.
You bring that up.
IRS ought to come after you.
I think I sent you a story the other day. It probably got buried in everything that I send you. I send you everything I read. This just happened not long ago in Kings Mountain, North Carolina. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, which is ICE, officials said a raid on a Kings Mountain factory Wednesday afternoon was part of an investigation into identity theft. And now that's right here in North Carolina. That blitz involved ICE agents taking workers at Buckeye Fire Equipment into custody. They make fire extinguishers. There's a bunch of cops here, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I looked down the hall, and there was a mass there. They had masks on. They had their guns drawn. They were like, hey, we need everybody to go into the front. Eric Pinion shot video, and he said his co-workers gathered in one spot at Buckeye Fire. In the video, men in large vests and badges are standing behind the workers. Now, I have personally not seen the video. He was able to grab this video before any agent stepped in to stop him. But ICE had targeted this business because of the amount of illegal immigrants they had working at that factory.
No problem with that. I have no problem with that at all. But after we do a quick weather thing, Barbara, here, I want to talk about, You mentioned it then. I mentioned it in this other piece. Federal agents wearing masks,
Right.
conducting raids.
I can understand why.
Drug agents wearing masks, conducting raids.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh, yes.
So, yeah, okay, we'll talk a little bit about that, but I've got mixed emotions here. Lots of mixed emotions, but then I've also got some understandability. So we'll talk about that when we come back.
Okay.
I'd love to hear
Sounds
from
okay.
you. So write this number down so you'll feel like joining in if you do. So help me out. You might be able to straighten me out because I'm on the fence. I have an issue. 910-333-0139. 910-333-0139. Okie dokie. First, perfect time to take a look at the weekend weather. Offshore, the forecast. High pressure is still here for a few more days. That's good for boating. It also brings warm temperatures, right? The oppressively high temperatures are with us. Do yourselves a favor. Use solar heat to bake some cookies. Heat up a frying pan on the dash of your car, and cook some hot dogs. Save your kitchen.
Just set them outside.
Save your kitchen, okay? The heat in your kitchen requires more air conditioning. Your bills go up. Oh, God. Put a baking dish filled with beans and bake them in the front seat of your car. Just leave it there. They will cook.
Smell real good after a while.
Oh, why not? It's covered up. Not a big deal. Or you can go fishing, and then when you get back, bring those fish fillets and put those in the frying pan. They're not going to fry up, but add some olive oil, slice of some onions and peppers, add whatever seasoning you like. Cover the dish with aluminum foil, and voila, solar prepared fish. And didn't cost you anything to cook them.
How about I just make a peanut butter or bologna sandwich or something? I'm happy with that.
You can have liquid peanut butter if you put that in the car. Offshore, today out to 20 nautical miles, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 3 feet, sounds and rivers of moderate chop. Saturday, tomorrow, southwesterly winds again 5 to 10 knots, increasing to 10 to 15 in the afternoon, still very doable, seas 2 to 3 feet every 4 seconds tomorrow. Sounds and rivers of light chop, increasing to a moderate chop in the afternoon, a slight chance of showers and thunder boomers. Sunday, southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 3 feet, sounds and rivers, a moderate chop.
And today we will have a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Sunny with a high near 94. Heat index values as high as 103. Southwest winds 3 to 8 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, a slight chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high near 93. Heat index values as high as 102. And Sunday, a chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high near 93. In other words, it's going to be hot.
Yeah, hot. There was a student newspaper at Jacksonville High.
Yes.
Remember that paper?
Yes, I do.
The Cardinal.
Yes,
I
the
think it was
Cardinal. Yeah, you're right.
A friend of mine, he was on the staff of that during the junior or senior year, and he wrote a little poem.
Oh, do you have it? Do you remember
I remember it very well.
It's hot. It's hot.
No, better than that. Summer is here. No, fall has fell. Summer is here. Spring. Nah, I'll do it. I got it right.
Okay.
Spring has sprung. Fall has fell. Summer is here and is hotter than.
Oh.
He left a little blank underneath that because in those days you couldn't get away with putting that in the student newspaper. But that was funny. That was
good job.
Courtesy of Mike Butters, the late Mike Butters.
Certainly not wrong.
Classmate. But that was. I mean, if I can remember that 60 years later.
I have to do the yard this morning when I get home.
Okay, let's go back to these guys. The guys who are conducting raids, rounding up illegals. They're catching some flack. The federal government, the president doesn't want people riding and wearing masks on the streets, right? Well, in North Carolina, that's illegal.
Right.
All right. So that's very enough said. But federal agents, raid ICE agents, I know drug enforcement agents, quite often local cops who conduct raids of drug units, they will quite often wear masks just to hide their identity, maybe.
Mhm.
Sometimes when you're in a crowd situation, like a protesting situation, there's something called mace that these people are spraying, tear gas,
Right,
grenades are being thrown. You got your own. You don't want to stick a gas mask on and wear it all the time.
That might be.
Is that Misty?
No, this is our North Carolina State Insurance Commissioner, Mike Causey.
I got to talk to our state insurance commissioner.
I talked to him yesterday because I had an insurance question, and I actually did the right thing.
You called and asked him a question?
Well, I asked him a question.
Oh, I got a question for him. Commissioner Causey, how are you, sir?
Well, good morning, Rayford. I'm just checking on you. I sent you a text message and I didn't hear back, so I just wanted to make sure you're still living.
Well, there are those who would wish otherwise, I'm sure, but so far I'm still kicking. I'm not looking at the roots of the grass. I'm looking at the green part so far. So
well, that's good.
I do appreciate your concern. Yeah, I saw it early this morning, believe it or not, and I said, I don't believe I'm going to call him right now. That was at 4:30.
Oh, Lord.
I could
you're,
have.
You're early. You start earlier than I do, so I'm proud of you.
Yeah, well, sometimes it's with a friend of mine. It was my other mama, Mother Nature.
Oh yeah.
She'll wake me up and say, okay. What?
In other words, you'll have to get up and go to. I just want
The
to. Does
refrigerator.
God turn on the light for you?
Yeah.
Mike, for total story this morning.
Does God turn on the light for you when you get up in the morning to go to the restroom?
No, not always.
Well, then good. You're not in the refrigerator.
He told a joke this morning, and it involved a refrigerator getting up in the middle of the night to go potty, and then the light coming on and going off.
Every time the light comes on and goes off.
Oh my gosh!
When he finishes,
You need to go back to your joke book.
that one was funny. I liked it.
Thank you.
Yeah, you and Kelly. Lee usually humors me.
Yeah.
Insurance. My question is, so when are the rates going to start coming down for old people?
Well, they tend to go up. But as you probably read about, there are some changes coming next week, July 1.
Yeah.
And most of those are legislative changes, that bills that were passed by the General Assembly and signed into law. But the one has to do with the minimum limits, and that's something that's been talked about for several years. And in 2023, the General Assembly passed that. It was supposed to have gone into the effect January 1 of this year, but it was delayed to July 1. So for about 30% of the drivers in North Carolina, they will be affected because their premiums are going to go up a little bit because the amount of insurance. If you only have minimum liability, the amount is just about to double, and which is a good thing for consumers and other drivers. But people need to be aware of that when they get their next premium statement, it's going to reflect that, especially if they just have minimum liability.
Yeah, you're talking about, I think that will affect a lot of folks who go out and they buy a clunker, they put it on the highway, and they get the cheapest insurance rate they can just to have it on the highway. And I've known that there are car dealers in Wilmington. I don't know that they still do it because I've been gone for quite a while. But there are the used car dealers that sell junkers, literally, that's what they advertise, junkers. And we have individuals that come in, will buy the car, and ironically, this individual can also sell insurance. He's an insurance agent, gives them a month's worth of insurance, and then they fail to pay the premium anymore, but they've got insurance and they got a car, and if they can register it and they can get a driver's license, and then they just don't do anything else with it, and they don't even pay the premiums. Yeah, did you run across any of those, Mr. Commissioner?
Well, there are quite a few uninsured drivers out there.
Ouch.
That is a problem. But what we need to know we have criminal investigators that cover the whole state. So if somebody, whether it's an insurance agent or anything dealing with insurance, if there's what we call a nexus relating to insurance, our investigators will jump on that, and we work closely with every sheriff in the state. We work with the SBI and the FBI on other types of investigations. So if there's something involving public corruption, say, and there's an insurance aspect, we handle the insurance aspect, and generally the SBI or FBI or some other agency will handle the public corruption part.
You know what?
But,
You want a suggestion or a tip, or not a suggestion, but a tip from somebody who?
I'm always open to tips. Right?
Okay, and now this one's not a really unusual situation. You know, the law enforcement does these things called road. They check in people. They have a little roadblock out, and they check people for their driver's license. And basically, it's a DWI checkpoint. Is what they're generally called. That's not all they're looking for. And if you guys got those reports after every one of those checkpoints, send them to your investigators and look for things called NOL and no insurance, no operator's license and no insurance. You might find some corruption things that are happening there with whoever they got their cars from.
Yeah, that is a good point. We do rely on referrals. So you know, if we get a referral, whether it's from a sheriff or an insurance company or a consumer, we take it seriously. And we have a way you can go to our website, nctoi.gov, and we've got a portal where people can report anonymously, or they can call. You know, we have a telephone number they can call.
That's cool.
This is something we're all paying for, because for every dollar we pay for insurance premiums, about 20 cents is going just to cover the fraud. And there is a ton of fraud out there. About half of the medical claims that are submitted are fraudulent in some shape or form. But I'm getting off track because I just started talking about the minimum limit increase.
Right.
But there's also a change in the inexperienced driver. And I've been getting a lot of phone calls on that, especially from parents that have children that'll be turning 16 and driving over the next 2 or 3 years. But effective July 1st, the inexperienced driver statute will go from 3 years to 8 years.
Oh, Lord.
So that's a big increase, but it's not as bad as it appears on the surface, because the first year is the big hit.
Oh, yeah, sure.
It's a 260% increase on the premium. So for all those people that have children, teenagers getting a license for the first time, they get sticker shock. And this is a true fact that 96% of new drivers have an accident within the first 7 years. So
really?
The first and second year is the worst, but there's a lot more between the fourth and seventh years. So, but with these surcharges, they drop significantly after the first few years. So when it gets down to the 6, 7, 8 years, it's gone from 260% to 15%. So that's almost like a blessing. So the idea is to depopulate the reinsurance facility. We feel like that will help the other drivers. But I want people to know the Department of Insurance had nothing to do with that legislation. We were involved with the discussions when they were bringing it up 5 or 6 years ago. But hopefully it will help all drivers, because every driver's paying a surcharge for the inexperienced and the underinsured motorist and all that. But by increasing the minimum limits and some of these other changes, we believe it will benefit.
Okay, that's new drivers. I remember those days, not so much when I got my license because that was, we were still driving horses. But the for today, these new drivers, when they do, for a while there, I remember that people with boys, parents suffered because they had boys who got their driver's licenses, and girls' rates, the insurance rates did not go up because when a girl got her driver's license, they were supposedly a safer driver.
Well,
Is that still
true.
the case?
No.
Okay,
Back
good.
in the day, back in the 50s and 60s, we had something called assigned risk, and it was pretty rough, especially if you had teenage drivers that were boys. And I had an uncle that had 5 boys. He had 2 in college at the same time.
Lord God help him.
He was going to have to mortgage his house just to pay the premium. So the legislators heard a big outcry in the 60s and 70s. So back in 1977, they passed legislation and they changed our whole system. And so they came up with the North Carolina Rate Bureau, which is a governing board. They did away with that assigned risk, and it's over the years it's worked very well because even though North Carolina is one of the deadliest states for traffic accidents, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in 2023, only 2 states had more speed-related traffic deaths than North Carolina, and that was Texas and California. So we're the 3rd highest traffic speed-related death state, and we also had almost 20,000 people injured from distracted driving, and 132 people died in 2023 because of accidents, and they were texting while driving or something like that. So in spite of being up there in that bad category, we have some of the lowest average automobile insurance rates in the country, and there was only one state that had a lower average monthly automobile insurance rate than North Carolina, and I believe that was Colorado.
Wow.
Wyoming. I'm sorry. There's more cows in Wyoming.
Yeah,
than there are people.
I understand that. And maybe your state agency, your state organization, maybe you and the Highway Patrol could get together, and every district could have a guy, unmarked car. Well, it would not be a car. It'd be a good old standard pickup truck with some hidden blue lights on it, and he's in plain clothes, and he's driving around, because sitting in a pickup truck on you up and down the road, you can see all these people texting as you drive by.
I'm gonna start yelling at them now.
You could do that and just pull them over, give them a ticket.
Start yelling.
That
was why my insurance is
I'm going to tell you what, you have got a solution for every problem.
Well, I've experienced most of the problems. That's the problem. So,
yeah.
And I dream of ways to deal with things.
Well, the problem we have right now with the State Highway Patrol is a shortage of state troopers.
Yes, I know.
We need 200 or 300 more troopers right now just to cover this state. And whether it's a sheriff's office or a police department or any law enforcement agency, it's harder and harder to recruit. It's no different than the fire departments and the civic clubs. You have a lot of young people that don't want to volunteer anymore, and we need to do a better job of encouraging young people to look at law enforcement and being a member of the fire service and becoming a first responder and that type thing.
Okay, here's a good recruiting campaign. Young men, young women, graduating from college, wear the uniform. It attracts people of the opposite sex. That's the way you ought to do it.
There you go, Rayford. I'll tell you, Lee, he is a brainchild right
It's
here.
every morning, Commissioner.
It scares her sometimes.
Before we go on air, you just don't know. But I do have a question. We're talking about automobile insurance and rates going up for different reasons, which unfortunately is a fact of life. But going back to homeowners insurance real quick, I want to ask a question. We know that you fought the rates from going way high and won substantially, I feel, in favor of us, the people. But I learned, excuse me, I have a 1% deductible on my insurance. And my insurance agent told me not long ago when I was questioning him about some stuff, he said, don't change your policy. And I said, why? He said, because the least amount that you can get for a deductible is now 6%. They won't let you go lower than that. Is that true?
Was that? I'd have to look at it and see on the company and individual policy, but is that on a roof claim or on any claim?
No, on any claim, yeah. On any claim that your insurance covers. I have a 1% deductible on my insurance policy. So, but he was telling me that the insurance companies now won't go lower than 6% when you take out a new policy.
Well, there's a lot of concerns right now on the amount of roof claims. People are filing claims for roof damage right and left. And a lot of companies are just not even writing homeowners policies if somebody has a roof that's over 9 or 10 years old.
Wow.
And there's so many of these, I call them fraudulent roofing contractors, scam roofing contractors, and they go door to door offering to get people a free roof. And we've caught some of them going up on a roof, and we've seen it videotape where they take golf balls and put in socks and bang those socks down on the top of the roof to create the appearance of hail damage. And they'll take a picture and show the homeowner, so you've got hail damage, you need a new roof. So we have to be really careful for anybody coming door to door offering home improvement services or anything like that, and they need to be reported.
Absolutely.
What happens to, is there anything there in the insurance that, got what was it, 35, 15, and 25, a 40-year-old roof here, and it started leaking, didn't know it because it was leaking down inside the walls until when I found out, they got up there and did some checking, and a big chunk of the roof, all of the roof had some very soft spots in it and little holes here and little holes there. That's not an insurance claim, is it? There was nothing, no Mother Nature, no nothing, just old age.
It sure doesn't sound like it. It sounds like a maintenance claim.
It was a maintenance claim. Who can I make a claim against?
You could have waited.
That's
Go ahead.
pretty good roof. 40 years.
Yeah, no.
You could have waited till a storm came and then.
No, I don't have wind and hail.
You didn't hear that. I was kidding. Yeah. Oh, that's right. You don't have wind and hail.
I don't have wind and hail.
Well, Rayford.
Lee, seriously, on your question, I'll find out for you, but people can go to our website, ncdoi.gov. They can file a complaint online. There's a little button to do that. It takes about 45 seconds to fill out that form. Or you can shoot me an email and I'll get it to the right folks and we'll get you an answer.
Yeah, no, I was just curious. I mean, it could be just that company that's operating in North Carolina, because I know a couple of years ago we had some companies leave the North Carolina area, which I had to change my insurance company because mine was one of those that left.
Well, that nationwide non-renewed over 10,000 homes in the coastal counties. So that happened 2 or 3 years ago.
Well,
they did it all over the country.
Gosh, I have another question while I have you on here, because I've been reading your website, and I'm gonna tell you, I've put all the information in our comments today because it's excellent. Everyone needs to go read this. Go to ncdoi.gov. It's excellent. But I was reading where North Carolina residents now have greater flood coverage options than ever before. Commissioner Causey approved a statewide flood insurance program that participating companies can now offer to residents living anywhere in the state. The program is separate from the National Flood Insurance Program. Wow, kudos for that.
Yeah, well, that came about after Hurricane Florence, and what we saw with Hurricane Florence was over 100,000 people filed claims for losses, and they got zero because the damage came from flood damage.
Mm-hmm.
And what we discovered, it was shocking that less than 2% of all homeowners had flood insurance. So even those people living close to rivers and lakes and other bodies of water had no flood coverage. You look at what happened to folks up in the mountains in Helene, it was a similar scenario. So after Hurricane Florence hit in 2018, we went across the state with flood education programs trying to encourage more people to look at flood coverage through the federal flood insurance program. Then we found out that some areas weren't approved to get flood insurance. So we worked with the North Carolina Rate Bureau for over 2 years and the insurance companies, and we got all of the policy forms approved so private insurance companies could sell flood insurance directly to the homeowners and without going through the federal flood insurance program. And then COVID hit, and all that sort of got put on the back burner. But right now, there's only a couple of companies that are doing that. But we believe more and more companies will be coming out to offer private flood insurance. So I encourage people to talk to their insurance agent, ask about flood insurance, whether it's from the federal flood insurance program or private flood policy. There are plenty of people that can help you with that.
Okay, let's go back to Florence, and well, we use that one as an example. Way inland here from the river, where I am, way inland from the ocean, where I am. If there's a drainage ditch supposedly maintained by a government, the county, the city, or whatever, where I might be living, and it's not maintained. In other words, those things got all those little beavers, they build dams and stuff gets thrown in them and the debris is not cleaned out on a regular basis. And then along comes a storm like that thing called Florence with 30 inches of rain. And these things overflow, and houses that were actually, one house that we're familiar with actually was on stilts. And water up to the second floor. And it was on high ground. Who's responsible for that?
That's considered an act of God, and it is flood damage.
God.
And unless they had flood insurance, they get zero on any insurance claim.
Wow.
I had a friend of mine that his home was flooded during Floyd back, whenever, over 20-some years ago. And they made the decision back then, either they were going to have to raise their house up or move out, is what he said.
Mm-hmm.
So he rebuilt, and he built that house 10 feet off the ground. He raised it up a little over 10 feet.
Yeah.
And all the neighbors laughed. This was down in Duplin County in the near the Northeast Cape Fear River in Wallace. And the neighbors said, that's a little bit overkill.
Nope.
And when Florence hit and the Northeast Cape Fear River flooded, there was 9 feet of water under that man's house, and every one of his neighbors, their homes were underwater, totally destroyed. His house survived. So it does pay, if you're anywhere near a river or a large body of water, elevation is the key.
Yeah. Well, this one is because the drainage ditch had not been cleared out.
Well, you can't help those beavers, but
Nope. You can shoot them. I mean, I didn't say
You
that.
know-
Wavered.
What?
Shooting beavers.
Well, you would too. Make hats out of them.
I tell you, it's pretty easy to get off topic on this show.
I'm telling you.
Well, no, but really, that nobody, the insurance, not an area that is prone to flooding. I mean, good God, the house is on 1 story up already on stilts.
You know what we say?
It's weird.
Rayford, here's our motto: if it rains where you live, you need flood insurance.
Okay. Is there ever rain in the desert? You gotta move.
I understand exactly because look what happened in mountains. I mean,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
whoever would have thought that would have had happened?
Hurricane in the mountains.
And it was unreal. I mean, the next morning the streets were flooded, homes were knocked off their foundation, there was cars and trees, and I mean, who would have ever thought that would happen? You take a chance by not having flood insurance. Like where I live, my street floods, but it's never gone above the curb.
That's not flooding. That's high water.
Well, the city puts out signs that says flood, so
Yeah.
whatever. But the thing about it is, you just never know. So, do you take that chance and get your flood insurance, and you may never ever need it? Just like I have homeowners insurance, and I have never ever in my entire being
You better
filed a
start knocking
claim.
on wood.
But the thing about it is, do you take it out and have it there, and in case something like that happens?
That's what insurance is for.
That's what insurance is for. Exactly.
Well, when it comes to flood insurance, the premium is all about elevation. So for every 1 foot you raise that house, that reduces your premium 20% or more. So if you've got a house that's way up off the ground, your premiums are, even in a flood-prone area, your premiums are going to be a lot less.
Mhm.
Right.
But I will say, Lee, for that question you had, if you'll send me an email or anybody else that has a question, my direct email is my name. It's Mike with a dot between Mike and Causey. It's
Right.
Mike.Causey at ncdoi.gov. And whatever the question is, or if it's a problem with a claim, if they send it to me, I'll send it to the appropriate folks that handle the consumer claims or whatever, and we'll get on it that day.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Wind and hail is that time of year when a lot of us will be thinking about it more so than ever. And if we have not had it, and with another prediction for a higher than normal, which I think every year they predicted, active hurricane season, not that it's going to be active here any more so than anywhere else. But can you take out flood or wind and hail insurance for something like June through the end of November, or does that have to be year round? Can you do it just during hurricane season?
Well, most companies will not write any coverage when there is a named storm.
Right, I got that, but I'm talking about in advance. Take it out and say the 1st of June and let it expire at the end of November.
Let's say with flood coverage, it takes 30 days before that policy is effective. So if you go out and buy a flood policy today and there's a flood next week, you're not covered. It's a 30-day waiting period.
Got it.
What you need to do, there's 3 types of policies that everybody needs. It's a homeowners or dwelling policy, a wind policy for wind and hail, and a flood policy for the rising water. So those are the 3. And I encourage everybody to find a local insurance agent in your hometown or your community that you can go visit personally or pick up the phone and call and go to that agent and have him do an assessment. Make sure you have enough insurance, but you don't want to be overinsured, and stay away from the internet ads and the TV ads and all of those things.
That's what I was going to say.
On this direct purchase, we'll give you the lowest premium because they're the ones that have the hardest time paying claims.
Right. Okay. Mike, I was going to ask you that same thing about the advertising, and some of them, some people might even get robocalls. I don't know. I haven't gotten any of that. Oh God, I probably will now. Somebody's listening about the insurance. But yeah, your local guy, somebody you can sit down with across the table and see him and look him in the eyes and get everything in writing. Triplicate.
And Lee, on your question on homeowners, it really does pay to shop around, because I've had people call me and complain about their homeowners insurance premiums going up substantially, and we check into it. They're within the state statutes on those increases. So the best thing is to shop around. And I gave that advice to one homeowner in Cary, and they called me back and said they found a company based here in North Carolina with premiums almost half of what they were paying.
Goodness.
Wow. Okay. I haven't done that in quite a while.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I have.
It might pay you to do that.
Yeah. We got ours lumped together, with car.
Yeah, I
and
have all
homeowners.
that too. And I have all the discounts I can find to put on it, but I haven't shopped around in a while. And he's right. I mean, I've been with the same insurance company now for about 4 years. And I haven't shopped lately to see if I can find another one that gives me what I have now at a lower rate. So
Got it. Okay.
very good.
The state of Texas just passed legislation to make that what's called they call it forced bundling illegal, where the company says, well, we won't write your car insurance unless we get your homeowners and everything else you have.
Right.
No, really.
Texas has made that
They get
illegal.
more money.
And that's something I would favor too, because I don't think that any insurance company should force somebody to say, well, if you don't give it, it's okay if they provide incentives to say that if you give us all of your insurance, we'll give you this much of a discount. But to hold the policyholder hostage to say, if you don't let us write your homeowners, we're not going to write your car or anything else, I don't like that part.
Yeah, that comes to mind too. When if you do have a bundle like that and it's a forced situation, what happens when you have like 3 wrecks? You're back into 3 cars and you got 3 wrecks in a year. Do they cancel your homeowner's insurance and your car insurance if you're bundled?
No.
No.
I'm going to tell you what, Rayford, you should have been a lawyer, because you can think of every single angle on any type of situation. That's pretty amazing.
I think like a politician, Mike. Think about it. They look for loopholes all the time, don't they?
No, Rayford just brought up something that made me think to ask you this, because I think in this new stuff that's going to take effect July 1st now, there was talk about, whenever you are involved in a mishap and you file a claim on your insurance on automobile, usually your rates will go up for like 3 years. Now they're talking about 5 years, Mike.
Lord of mercy.
Well, yeah, the points on the SDIP, the Safe Driver Incentive Plan, that's going from 3 years to 5 years. That's
Good God.
Just a number of changes, and we have all that listed. If anybody wants to take time to go read it, we've got it spelled out on our website.
Yes.
And you probably will get communication from your insurance company, letting you know these are the changes.
Right.
Were we supposed to read all those pieces of paper to come
Yeah,
in?
something to look forward to, Rayford.
Most people don't.
No, we don't.
Good idea to do that.
I know I couldn't wait to open up my homeowners to see how much it had gone up. It went up a couple $100.
Scared you, didn't you?
I was like, oh, yeah. So one last thing, because I know you're a busy man. So I see you just put out a video about North Carolina, urging the residents of North Carolina to be cautious with fireworks. There's a great video.
Yeah.
Well, it's 4th of July, and every year people start drinking and they get drunk and they think they're Superman. And we talked about the Florida man syndrome, where the man in Florida lit a rocket off on top of his head and blew his brains out.
Oh, God.
you're not going to live through that type of situation. So
Right.
we're telling folks, and every fire department in the state is promoting this, is leave the fireworks to the professionals.
Please.
You know, don't be messing with fireworks at home. It's too dangerous. We have kids getting injured every year. There's just thousands and thousands of injuries from fireworks, and not to mention how many homes get caught on fire from rockets going into somebody's house or porch.
Oh God.
It only takes a hot bottle rocket to lay up there on top of an asphalt shingle roof.
Right.
Those
right.
things are nothing but oil based anyway. They will catch on fire and burn.
Could you see yourself sitting on the couch watching TV and a rocket comes in through your window? Oh, hits the couch.
Those little bottle rockets are bad. Roman candles used to be bad, but they're not so bad anymore. I don't think it. Do they even make
sitting
them?
there wearing a
Whatever.
hard hat come Friday night.
Mr. Commissioner, we do appreciate your time as always.
Well, you're welcome. And we're also on that same video talking about grilling safety.
Oh,
Don't
yes.
burn your house down with your grill. Keep the grill 10 feet away from your deck or your house. And
Good
what?
advice.
just be safe. We just want everybody to stay safe on this Independence Day holiday. And I'm going to be in Belhaven. They've got a big 4th of July parade up at Belhaven, and that's where I'll be on July 4th.
Belhaven. Okay.
Well, enjoy that.
Yeah, have fun up there. There are not many of them. There's probably one in Southport still, but there are very few cities that actually
The
have one.
Belhaven parade is one of the biggest in the state.
Uh-huh.
I think maybe Faith in Rowan County might be the biggest, but Belhaven is one of the largest, and it's been going for many years.
Yeah. I can see that. That's a great place, great location.
Sounds like fun.
All right. Mr. Commissioner, thank you, sir, as always. We do appreciate your
You
time.
are the
And,
best.
see you next time.
Okay.
All right. Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much, sir.
See you next time.
You know what? I like having a commissioner, from
Yeah.
the state like this, because he's always calling us. He's always, letting us know what's happening, what to look out for. If you have any questions, how to contact the insurance commissioner.
And if you've been listening to us for any period of time, you do know there are certain people that are elected to office, as is he,
Right.
that the only time we hear from them is when it's election time or re-election time.
Right.
Not Mike Causey.
Right.
And anytime we've ever had a question, something that's come up from one of our listeners or whatever,
Right.
we just drop him a note. It either gives us an answer or he said, I'll come on the show, whatever.
And see, I
So-
didn't ask him to call.
No.
He
Oh, yeah, I know.
he called me and said, I'd like to call in. I'm like,
It's a
anytime.
perfect time to do it.
Right.
And I hadn't thought about the fireworks, but yes, people, it's dry. I don't know what it's going to become next Friday, but right now it's dry. It's hot.
It's hot.
And those shingles up there, it won't take a whole lot for a hot things from a rockets going off. Bottle rockets are really hot when they land. Sparklers are really hot when you throw them on the ground because they're not completely out. And, little kids, people.
And right now we're pretty
Leave it to
dry.
the pros.
We're pretty dry around this area. Now there is a possibility that we may get some rain next week, a couple days.
Mhm.
The probability is low, but it's higher than what it is this week. Which means that it's just going to dry the trees and the bushes
Make
and the
them
grass
burn
out
even
even
easier.
more. Yes.
All right, 910-333-0139. What do you think about masks on
Well,
cops
I
when they're
think
doing raids and stuff like that? Why do they need them?
well, the way I look at it, I two ways. I think when I look at ICE using masks for raids, DEA, ATF, most of those agents are, you don't know who they are. They have to remain anonymous for their safety and the safety of their family, because there are people who target
anonymous to
agents like
whom?
that.
Anonymous to whom? The bad guys. When you make an arrest, you're going to have to identify yourself. They're going to know who you are once you bring
Right,
them in.
but it's not like you make an arrest and take your mask off and say, "See, here's my face."
What you
I'm
do when you get them to the
Officer
jailhouse? Well, you've got to identify yourself.
I just
for an
I can't
arrest.
understand why some of those agencies wear masks.
Do you think that perhaps it's for intimidation?
I don't believe so.
Well, you've been trying to be real pro cop, aren't you?
I am at this moment because I mean, on the positive side on it,
But
on the
seriously,
pro side,
you do realize that at 3:00 in the morning, when suddenly you get the knock on the door, police, drug enforcement agency, or we have a search warrant, and you suddenly you look out there and there's a bunch of guys with masks on, badges and guns.
right?
Are you intimidated?
Yes, I'm going to throw myself on the floor, say, well, "Come right on in."
But
Nothing in my hands.
But again, do you think is it a good thing for cops to intimidate people when they're doing a drug raid?
I don't look at it as
No, but do you
intimidation.
think it would be a good thing to intimidate the people on the inside when they do a drug raid?
I don't think that they should intimidate anybody, regardless of if they're wearing a mask or not.
Without
I
a
don't
mask,
think the mask is intimidating.
You don't?
No.
Without a mask, let's say they don't have a mask. Say they got a bunch of guys in uniform.
Right.
Do you think it's intimidating when they knock on your door at 4:00 in the morning? Police, open up. We have a search warrant.
It's scary. That's what it is. I don't think
Well,
about
do
it
you feel
any other
intimidated?
way, but being scared.
If you're a drug runner, somebody got dope in the house, you know that you got stuff that you don't want the police to know about. You know what kind of business you're running. Is it intimidating?
For them to come knocking on your door.
Is it intimidating to the person on the inside? Should they feel intimidated? Are they intimidated? Are they more intimidated when the police come with mask on and they know that they've got bad stuff in the house? They know what they've done. They know why the police are there. Give me a break.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say.
Do you think it's more intimidating when that happens? You
No.
don't?
No,
I do.
I don't.
I
So
think-
explain why you do.
As
a former cop.
and for me, that's not a bad thing. I'd rather have them feel intimidated when I'm raiding their house, and
Okay.
they're less likely at that point in time to do something that's going to get somebody hurt. Usually them.
I agree.
That's why you go into the house when you've got big guns and stuff. When you go into that, so you don't need an AR-15 when you go in. You don't even need a shotgun when you go in. You should just go in and we got a search warrant. Where's the dope? But bad guys don't always think that okay, they got the police here. They just want to get my drugs. I'll give it to them, no problem. No, if they've got guns. They got pit bulls that they've trained to be mean. What do you think they're going to do?
Exactly.
So would it be better to intimidate them at that time?
Well, speaking that way, I mean, that viewpoint, intimidate the devil out of them, whatever you have to do.
I want to go home after this rage. You understand?
Yes.
And if if the bad guys are a little bit intimidated because of having to go in and do a job that is a dangerous job. Kicking that door 4:00 in the morning is a dangerous thing.
Yes, it is.
You know who's on the inside. You hope. You think you know that they probably got guns, which they do.
You don't know that they don't have that front door wired with a bomb, too.
That's why we let
Yes.
certain people go in first.
Right. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be people saying they should never wear a mask for any reason. Times are different.
And I cannot disagree with that philosophy. If the bad guys on the streets protesting, quote unquote, peacefully,
Right.
you haven't said otherwise yet, if they can't wear a mask to protest peacefully, why should the cops be able to wear masks to stand there and peacefully watch them?
Okay. I will say, now let me defend the cops on this one.
Okay.
When I was watching the protests in LA there, it was going strong for about a week and a half, and now it's nothing. Cops were wearing masks. Yes, they were, but they were wearing gas masks and other types of masks
I'm
to
talking
protection.
about the ones that
Yeah.
hide
Okay.
their identity.
I didn't see any of that, but on
You
the,
didn't?
no, not the cops, not the law
Oh, I
enforcement.
did.
I watched it every night for like a week and a half. I never saw that. It doesn't mean that they weren't doing it. But the protesters, they're hiding the ones wearing masks are hiding their identity because they're out there doing no good.
Mhm.
They're vandalizing, they're getting in cops' face and telling them,
All of them?
not all of them, but I think why do they have to cover their face, Rayford? They got up. That you watch them get up.
Why do you
and
have to have a gun, Lee?
it depends on as a protester.
No, why do you have to have a gun? It's your right.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, but what I'm saying is, if you're going to protest, do it peacefully. But a lot of these masked individuals were going up to the cops and actually just screaming in their face and telling them
A
to
lot,
F
not all of them.
off. Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. You have to treat everybody because of the action the same way because of the actions of a relatively small number of the total
Yeah,
group.
exactly. But if you're out there protesting, why do you have to cover your face?
Because
It's
I-
your right to protest.
because
I
want
agree.
to. Because I want to.
But it's against the law to cover your face.
If it's against the law, then you don't have the right to do it. But
Right.
Tom said if you've got the right to do it, unless it's against the law, you have the right to do it, right?
Well, it is in North Carolina, and I do believe I remember researching California, and it's the same in California.
Well, I think they've passed it. I don't know what.
Mhm.
I think it's a federal law or a federal directive or mandate,
Could be,
whatever
yes.
it is. I don't know.
Yes.
One of those perhaps directives from the president. I don't know. Why do the cops need it? People gonna know who they are.
Well, it's
You don't think their neighbors know who they are?
well, let me in defense of the law enforcement. They deal with a lot of like imagine DEA going into a house where it's all MS-13. Do you want those gang members to know who you are?
Absolutely.
Not by being able to identify
Absolutely.
you on the
Oh, yeah.
street
Absolutely.
when you're with your family
Oh,
at
yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts or something.
Oh, absolutely.
Why?
Because by the time I get through with them when they're under arrest, they're
Yeah.
they're not going to really
Yeah.
want to do anything else. They should be better prepared to walk to the other side of the street.
Yeah, Marty came in this morning and he was asking me about did I see something that was on a show last weekend because he watches the same show and Candy does that I watch live on the weekends, and it's that on Patrol Live. And there was a call where several of the officers went to this area where this man was threatening to kill everybody with a gun. He threatened to kill the law enforcement agents out there also. But somewhere in the midst of all of it, he threw what I think they determined to be a brick or something and hit this officer in the head.
It's a deadly weapon.
Yes. Do you know that he's still in the hospital? He was in critical condition over it.
What is the condition of the guy that threw the brick?
Arrested? They did, but it went off about that time. So we'll get updates tonight on it. But I've been following this officer's plight on social media.
Let's go back to the mask thing. Suppose you get stopped by a highway patrolman. He's got a uniform on, but he's wearing a mask, and he's pulled you over at a traffic stop.
That's entirely different.
Why?
Because he's making a traffic stop, which I could have been speeding or whatever.
You could
I
have had a
would be
gun.
very suspicious if one walked up wearing a mask. That's not their protocol. That's not the way they do
No.
things. Now, if I had a house
How
full
about
of,
if you're speeding somewhere, you're running 10 miles an hour, 11 miles an hour over the speed limit, and you get pulled over by a patrol car or highway patrol, deputy sheriff, city police officer, and suddenly two more patrol cars pull up, and the only thing you're there for is because you stopped for speeding. Are you intimidated by that?
I would be scared, but I would also think that they must have my vehicle mixed up with somebody else's because,
Oh, really?
yeah, why not? I haven't done anything. Why should I be intimidated? I'd be scared.
Would you think that in an area that if it becomes a routine that they see 3 cars every time there's a traffic stop?
That right there, there's an issue.
Okay, I'm just asking.
That right there, if you live in a town where
A state,
our state,
out in the county.
a
How about
municipality,
you're all alone out there in the county somewhere and you're on a rural road and it's nighttime, and one police officer pulls you over. Okay, ma'am, you know why I stopped you? Well, I was probably speeding. You were running a 58 in a 35 zone.
Right.
And then there are two more cars that pull up with you.
If that is something that happens often in that area, then there's an issue with that department.
Okay.
And something needs to be addressed.
Because I don't know. I'm just
right. I understand examples.
And it's for you new people out there. I was a cop, so
right.
I ask these questions because you know I'm a pro law enforcement. 998.3%.
And just for anybody wondering, like when we go back and forth like that, I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. And sometimes you'll take a negative stance, but what you're doing.
Negative.
No, I don't mean that in a bad way.
We need to question things.
But
it's our right.
It's what we do going back and forth over issues.
It's our responsibility to look at all sides now.
Right.
Even as a cop, I put myself in the shoes of these people out there. I mean, I could have gotten out as a, gun
right.
Carry a machine gun up every time you stop somebody for speeding. No, don't need to do that. If you've run the tag and it comes back to a white female, she's 78 years old, and yada yada yada.
Okay. You reach in and get a stick of gum and take it to her when you go to talk to her. Ma'am, you got to slow down.
Yeah.
Give her a goodie.
But
it's not like that anymore, Rayford. It's not like that.
Well, yeah, I stopped a woman 182 and a 55. She's trying to get her grandson to the ball game on time, and she's got a little minivan. And
watch out for this minivans.
It was either 82 and a 55, or she was 81 and a 55, and she was either 82 or 81. I said, you hurry up. You're gonna be catching up with your age here in just a minute. That's about like I gave her a ticket.
A soccer mom in a van. Don't ever get in their way.
Do you think I gave her a ticket?
Yes.
No.
Why?
She was about that tall, blue hair, and she jumped out of that van, had to crawl down out of that van. And I'm like, I can see the judge. I'm taking her in, and she was doing how fast and a what? Ma'am, how old are you? And she's from California, visiting her daughter. No. I just chewed around and told her I was going to tell her daughter on her.
Yeah. And I wish that a lot of cops still do that, but man, there is no warnings. Just here's your ticket.
Do you think I wanted to make headline news sitting on the witness stand talking about that? No. Now, she had some dope in her car, a different story. Jesus.
Grandma dealing dope. Traveling at a high rate of speed on I-95 in the family van.
No, this is I'm glad she wasn't in a residential area. Okay, let's do a little bit of weather. It's going to be hot. All right, I'm done. Offshore out to 20 nautical miles. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots today, 2 to 3 footer, sounds and rivers of moderate chop. Southwesterly winds tomorrow, 5 to 10, going to kick up a little bit in the afternoon, 10 to 15, seas 2 to 3 feet every 4 seconds, sounds and rivers of light chop, increasing to a moderate chop in the afternoon. A slight chance of showers and thunderstorms, still going to be calm enough for Kelly, okay? Yep,
right,
good.
Let's go, Kelly.
Southwesterly winds on Sunday, 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 3, sounds and rivers of moderate chop. I got to punch up the National Hurricane Center, but go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Well, ditto on it's going to be hot. I'm done. Today, a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms this afternoon. Sunny with a high near 94. Heat index values as high as 103. Tonight, mostly clear with a low around 74. Saturday, a slight chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high near 93. Heat index values as high as 102. And Sunday, a slight chance of afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny with a high near 93. So we get no breaks this weekend.
76 outside here in the backyard. Feels like it's 84, and we have humidity right now of 86%, which is kind of low for this time of year, so that's not too bad. It's going to get worse, y'all. It's going to get worse. We have number 1 out there.
Yes.
Disturbance number 1 is still in the yeller.
Isn't that near Mexico? Is that the one?
Yeah, 20% chance of cyclone formation over the next 7 days. It's out in the Bay of Campeche. Where that is where the Yucatan Peninsula is coming off Mexico and going up the yonder way.
Yes.
It's on the inside of that, between that and the mainland. And we're coming across, it's going to be coming across that area, and a possibility of doing some stuff in the mainland. Let's see which ways. Moving west-northwestward into the Bay of Campeche tomorrow, and low pressure could form. Low pressure system is when the pressure starts dropping, and that's when the chances of storms forming up are greatest. Some development is possible on Sunday or Monday if the system remains offshore, off the coast of Mexico. Heavy rain locally impossible. If you're going to Belize, Guatemala, and southeastern Mexico for the next few days, you might get wet. How's that sound?
Yes.
You know what a wingsuit is? On a wing and a prayer. You know what a wingsuit is?
Oh,
those are those bodysuits that people get these days for the last number of years, that they put them on and it looks like a flying squirrel or a bat. They spread their arms out. They got no parachute. There's nothing like that. They just fly down and glide like a bird gliding, right?
Okay.
If you've ever seen a flying squirrel, have you ever seen one?
A flying squirrel? No,
Yeah.
I have not.
Mm-hmm. That's somewhat how they look.
We've got Misty Lee calling us.
We do have Misty. Oh,
yes.
Here's what we can say. Here's what I'd like to say first.
Don't do
Hey,
it.
Misty, for
Don't
me.
do
You
it.
didn't think I was not going to let that get by, did you? Come
I
on.
knew it was coming.
Good morning, Misty. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning. How are y'all?
You must
doing
be
fine.
tired.
Goodness, this is we just say we can't take our foot off the pedal yet. Like just keep going.
Yep, full speed
Hang in
ahead.
there.
Misty is Misty Lee and her daughter. And I don't know, is your
Catherine.
husband up there yet?
He actually has he and Carson, they're back and forth.
Okay. Gotcha.
We had them come up Sunday and help us do all that heavy lifting. Thank goodness for them. And they came. I'm losing track of days, but they were here for the first night and stayed over,
Okay.
and then they were here last night, the second night, but drove back late. So they're back in Onslow County
All right.
today.
So, but I'm sure he will be. I know where he's going to be tomorrow.
Yes, he will.
Yeah. And we're talking about
She's
Ernie.
her own.
We're talking about Ernie Lee, our district attorney, and Misty being his wife, but I should say he's her husband. How's that sound?
Much better.
Better. And they've got a daughter, and her name is Catherine. So Lady Catherine is also known as Miss Gastonia, and Lady Catherine is in High Point, and they got this thing called the Miss North Carolina pageant underway, and this is the third official day of it or something, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Tonight is the third night of competition.
Yeah. So how is she doing? Is she holding up? Does she need some aspirin or anything?
I think she's doing great. She's having a great time.
Good.
Learning a lot, and I don't know, she's doing good. She's doing a really good job.
Well, Missy just sent me some beautiful pictures of the evening gown competition. So I'm going to post those on our
good.
page a little later. Beautiful.
Yeah, I saw that. So I saw one of
thank
them. Looking sharp, and you feeling good? Everything looking
We
good?
are. We're feeling really good. I think she did her talent last night before last, which was her lyrical dance.
Yeah.
And it was I Can't Help Falling in Love,
Oh, perfect.
the Elvis song, and she dedicated it to my parents who just celebrated their 60th anniversary, and they were in the audience, and it was a surprise, and that we had a video clip with a picture of them on the screen, and so it was kind of a nice moment. And she just felt really good. Her dance was choreographed by Carly Batson, who is a former Miss North Carolina.
I know that
She
name.
lives in Wilmington.
Yeah, that's why I know that name. Okay.
Yes, and so it
Excellent.
was so pretty. Like, it was such a moment on stage, and she was really happy with how that turned out. And then last night was evening gown, and she wore this wonderful gold gown that just it shone on stage,
Mm-hmm.
and that Gene Nicholson, is helping dress her there in Jacksonville. And Gene has such a great eye, and Catherine has a great sense of style too. And so anyway, they came up with that gown, and it really was so pretty on stage. She looked very elegant, and I was really proud of her.
Wonderful. Well, at her first convenience, after this is all over with, as Miss North Carolina, we certainly would like to have her back in the studio.
Exactly.
Thank you. She'd love to. Everybody has been so kind and supportive, sending her texts, commenting on her posts. Mm-hmm. And I mean, everybody, the church ladies, y'all, we just appreciate it so much. Like it's cool. It's just part of it, and we so appreciate it.
Yeah, cool. Well, there's an Oslo delegation that's going to be up there. I know that because I got a granddaughter that's going to be right up there.
Oh, wonderful!
Yes. We're looking forward to seeing them. Catherine's counting on seeing her.
Oh yeah, she's going to be there. Allie, they made that perfectly clear. I mean, they've known each other for a while.
Yes, that's right. She's a good friend, and so she's really looking forward to seeing her tomorrow night. And Candy too. Yep,
she's there. But Marty's going to be around, and he's looking for. He's probably going to try to sneak over to the Dean Dome and just throw a few balls up there in the rack or something. I'm just kidding.
I'll bet. So tonight is for Catherine. Her phase of competition is on stage question and
she'll do well.
And her fitness.
We had her in here a week ago. She'll do well.
Yeah, she's
a talker.
Yeah, she can handle it.
Please say a prayer for her. We really appreciate it.
Definitely.
Everybody.
And we'll post more information on it today. The link that anyone who would like to watch it can go on to. Is a small fee for it, but it'll be well worth it to watch it. And we'll be following the story, and I'm going to post some of these pictures later that you sent me of her evening gown.
Yeah, you guys ought to get together and find somebody with a big screen TV and just chip out a couple of bucks and sign up for pay-per-view, whatever they call it these days.
Yeah, pay-per-view.
Yeah. And sign up for it and sit around and watch it.
Definitely.
Right? Have a good time.
Yeah.
I'll definitely be watching.
Watch it together.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, sound like a winner. Okay, Misty, thank you. Good luck up there. You're not going to need a lot of luck. You're just going to need to get her done.
That's right, get it done. But I appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Misty.
Thank you, Misty.
All right, we're rooting for her.
All right, yeah.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Root.
We're rah-rahing and rooting. I have a story for you.
I want to go back to this wingsuit first.
That's right. We forgot.
I didn't forget about it. I got it right here.
Wingsuit. Go ahead.
It's a bodysuit that forms into a sort of a slide, kind of like a glider, when you jump from tall buildings, or perhaps you enjoy the freedom of being able to almost fly like a bird. You've seen these birds up there that just like they soar around and just keep on going. They don't even flap their wings at times.
This story's not going to end well, is it?
No.
I just knew it.
The side panels are supposed to support you, not like a parachute. A parachute just lets you come down. This is more like a glider as you head to the land below. It's a thing. It's a growing sport. And apparently a dangerous one. Yeah. A world champion wingsuit pilot, 24-year-old Liam Byrne, was one of 3 such men to jump from a structure 8,000 feet up, high up in the Swiss Alps recently. Byrne deviated from his intended course shortly after takeoff, they said, for reasons still unknown, and he crashed into what police called a rocky outcrop. He died. Byrne, he's a British champion in the risky sport, was an experienced flyer with more than 4,000 jumps to his credit at 24 years of age. His Instagram account also lists him as a skydiving instructor, a wingsuit coach, and base jumper. You know what a base jumper is? What they call base is B-A-S-E, building, antenna, span, and earth. They find tall structures. They'll jump off buildings. They've done it in downtown areas, all sorts of places. 4,000 jumps, age 24. He was certified to wing glide when he was 18. Over 6 years, he averaged almost 700 jumps per year. If he did on average 2 jumps a day, I did the math, 325 days out of 365 each year, that would be a lot. Can you maintain an average of 2 jumps per day, 325 days a year? Well, maybe some can. I know that down in the islands and 18 days of diving on dive trips we would take down there, we averaged 3 dives a day. That's a lot.
Yes, it is. One dive would do me in.
325 days a year would be grueling. It would be all consuming. Jumping off some sort of tall structure every day, 325 days a year, my hat's off to him.
Yeah.
At WCTA and WWAY, they've got each had at the time towers up there that were 2,000 feet tall. 2,000 feet. At WCT was at the transmitting antenna, was located near White Lake in those days. Base jumpers would break the lock to get inside the gate to the base of the tower. They did it way too many times. Climbed aboard the elevator car that took them to the top and bailed off the top. Not with wingsuits, but with parachutes. That's what a base jumper does. The station had to pay tower climbers every time to physically climb this tower 2,000 feet up. They had to take a spare battery with them to power up the elevator because the trespassing jumpers would leave the power switches on and ride the elevator back down.
Oh.
They did inspections on the way down to certify that it was still safe, that these base jumpers had not compromised what was going on.
They have elevators for the water towers or for those towers?
You're going to climb 2,000 feet up there?
I never knew they had elevators.
There's an elevator inside the tower legs.
I just thought they climbed.
Yeah, I went up one time in December. There's enough room for 2 men and a big piece of equipment. So about a 3-man elevator is all they are. So the station decided to move all of the controls to the interior of that elevator into the transmitter building, added an alarm, an extra alarm to the building to make sure that no one could ever do that again. They had tried. They broke the lock to get into the tower gate, but they couldn't get it. The elevator was dead, so that they couldn't do anything. The power was off inside. Whoops. So that stopped all of that. That's good. They never did catch them. It would have been a very stiff fine and possibly some jail time if they had been caught. It's dangerous.
Yeah,
I mean, there are trees around these wooded areas. Even in a parachute, where are you going to land? Wherever the wind lets you.
The guy in the squirrel suit, I mean, if I was jumping from that, I'd have to have a backup parachute or something. But, people, now that is something definitely I would never, ever do. Am I saying he's crazy? He's got a little bit of crazy.
And you look like a seal while you're out there on a surfboard, and the seals are prime food for sharks.
Yeah.
And tell me what, you wouldn't do this?
No, I don't wear full suits like that.
No, you were out there looking like a seal because you were silhouetted on the surface. You and your surfboard, right?
I mean, it's a chance you take everything you do in life.
So is jumping off this building.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's not something I would do. That was something he did. Cool, whatever, but not something I'd do. First of all, there's a fashion statement wearing a squirrel suit. Definite fashion statement.
You could decorate it any way you want. Maybe you could go, who's that gentleman that handles Catherine's wardrobe stuff here in Jacksonville? Jay
Nicholson. No, it's
Nicholson.
A female. Yeah, Jean Nicholson.
Well, she takes care. She could design you a squirrel suit.
Put a little bit of bling on it.
Whatever, she could design me a shark suit. That's what I need. I can play havoc in the surf.
Gosh.
If I got out there in the surf, looking like a shark, swimming along underwater where they couldn't see me, tank strapped to the bottom.
If you did something like that, could you be arrested for going to the terror of the beach public?
I wouldn't be armed. But, can you imagine somebody out there?
Terrorizing people?
No, there are too many good old boys to go to the beach out here with guns. They'd probably start taking pot shots at me.
Like they did in South Carolina, thinking they had a submarine in the water. It was a school of fish, and everybody panicked.
Hey, well,
That was a little too much. But of course I wasn't there, so
I got to remind you before we do run out of time.
Yes.
Tomorrow is field day. Yep, all day beginning tomorrow at 10 o'clock at the Sheriff's Training Facility out there on Northwest Park Corridor. It's out on 258. If you're coming from Jacksonville, just after you pass the farmer's market, you turn in there on Northwest. No, it's just before you get to the farmer's market.
it's at the intersection of Pony Farm Road and
That one.
258.
There's a traffic light there.
Yes.
And there will be a sign there that says amateur radio with the arrow pointing in that direction. Coming from either direction, there will be a sign there that says amateur radio, and it points up Northwest Corridor Boulevard.
Right.
You go down to the next, it's 2 intersections away, but to the next sign, it says amateur radio to the left. Then you go down to the intersection and take a right at the next sign, it says amateur radio. And then you look for cars with antennas on them, a lot of antennas. And you look for a bunch of people out there working in the yard, putting up antennas and doing all sorts of stuff. Amateur radio field day. We talked to one of our ham radio guys from the club yesterday. It's a 24-hour event, on the air event that starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It'll take a couple hours or so to get antennas erected, but that's what starts tomorrow morning. The work party gets off at 10. So if you want to come out and see what amateur radio is all about, we've got people there. They're going to be manning a table that's just about education. There may be rotating people talking. You'll have a chance to talk to amateur radio operators. Maybe you've always wanted to be one. Maybe you just thought it was too much trouble. But they will help you through. They will talk you and tell you what you can do. And you can sit down at one of the tables and actually talk to people. You'll be able to. You can do that with a licensed operator there, which we have a bunch. And they will sit there and let you talk to people all around the country. You might get to make a couple of contacts yourself. How does that sound?
I'm in for it.
Dignitaries, all of you elected officials out there, those I have not invited, I'm sorry, because I just didn't get around to everybody. But
He just doesn't like you, that's why.
I've invited every county commissioner, the sheriff says he's going to be there. It's his range. I'm sure he'll
Right.
show up.
Former sheriff, I'm sure the retired,
Retired sheriff. He's a ham radio
Yes.
operator himself. Our state senator's a ham. He's going to be there.
Will the ambulance be there?
I don't know yet. Bob may or may not bring that, but he takes us some places. But we'll be operating in there. Just come through the door and say, hey.
Yeah, and all that information is posted on our Facebook page. So,
But it's going to be a good time, and the idea is so we can test our emergency capabilities for 24 straight hours of operating. Last night we came up. I think we're in a category that we're going to be operating 5 transmitters. We get up to 5 transmitters at a time.
Nice.
And last year we took 7th in the nation in that category.
That's what you said.
Whoa.
Excellent.
That's pretty intense.
Yes.
Because once you start listening to all of those people and start hearing, and we're making contact after contact after contact and logging everything, it's gets to be lots of fun.
And you get points for all
and we
that.
get points for everybody we talk to. There are 750,000 hams in North America or the United States. There are hams in Canada, Mexico, all over the world. We've got licensed, I think the last count was about 490 here in Onslow County. Most are not active. Some are. For you old folks like me, Arthur Godfrey.
Yes.
A great man. Beautiful voice. Sounds like Chris Marks a lot. And then he was a ham.
Priscilla Presley.
Priscilla Presley.
Walter Cronkite.
Walter Cronkite was a ham. I mean, people who like
Prince Albert of Monaco.
And Barry Goldwater.
Barry Goldwater,
former senator and a candidate for president of the United States was a ham. And it's just a lot of people we get a chance to talk with.
Our retired police chief.
Yeah.
Isn't he a ham?
No,
our senator, Senator Lazara.
But we're going to get retired police chief Mike Yanero. We're going to get him we're going to sign him up one of these days. Get him sit down with us for just a little while. I can help him with the test.
He would be good.
He's a
wait a minute. I can help him with the test. What do you mean?
Study for the test.
You're not going to sit next to him and say, mark that?
No. Absolutely not. They won't let me. Carol's the volunteer examiner, and she
That's
will
right.
hit me.
I'm taking her.
I think
Baked ham when I go.
she's got a yardstick for your knuckles. Anyway, it's a fun time. Check our website, our Facebook posting, and that's
Yes.
happening tomorrow.
Right. It's going to be, here's your buddy.
Which
Our
one?
buddy, Theo.
Oh, good.
Mm-hmm.
I've been hoping he was going to call, so I didn't have to call him this morning.
Right.
I hope you heard me earlier this morning, Theo.
Sure
No, I
did.
didn't.
I'm sorry. You say you did or did not?
I did not.
Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go back and pull up my notes here real quick. You challenged me. I was on a challenge. You suggested that I go take a look at some video, of which I did. I found it, and I wish it was better quality video because everything I found was shot with cell phones, of course, and I prefer real cameras. So, yes, at some point in time, and I did not get the time frame when this occurred, a guy named Narciso Barranco. He was working at mowing grass or trimming grass. I think he was trimming the grass at the time at a restaurant in Santa Ana. I believe it was I forgot the name of the restaurant, but whatever. It's IHOP. The ICE agents were looking for him. They saw him. They got out. He took off running, sprinting. He getting, he's like me, probably too old to run. Held a weed whacker that agents said he was threatening them with it. I think he was more trying to get away than anything else.
So that's a lie.
No, I did not say
so
that.
That's a lie then.
No,
If they said he was threatening them, and you said you didn't see anything, then that's a lie.
I did not say I didn't see anything. I said
Okay.
they interpreted that they were there. I was not there.
Okay.
I'm watching some grainy, crappy video. So listen to what I say.
Yeah.
And don't put words in my mouth.
Okay. I didn't put words in your mouth. I'm saying if they said that they went after him and you didn't see anything like that, then they're lying. That's what I said.
They said they thought it, they considered him brandishing a weed whacker, charging, they considered it a threat. They did not consider it a threat enough to draw their guns and shoot him. So let me finish. He claimed he didn't know they were cops. Well, let me explain to you this. When I looked at the video time and again and enlarged the video, they were wearing, guess what? Vests that had, guess what? I'm a cop on it. And guess what? A badge on it. So that was a lie on his part. He did not know they were cops. He took off running. He knew that they were cops. He knew that he was illegal. Illegal people, when they see cops, usually try to get away. Most of the time, that's what happens. The agents tackled him. He was without a doubt, at that time that they tackled him, he was resisting arrest. He was slapping. He was doing all sorts of things. And several of them held him down. They were trying to put handcuffs on him, and he was still resisting. Then, here's the only thing that I can make out on the video that at that point in time, and I enlarged it from here to eternity. It disturbed me what I think that I could see. It was difficult to see the details, but it appeared to me that while a man was on the ground, while they were holding him and he was slapping at him, one of the agents slapped or punched him. Could have been slapping his hands, but I don't think so. It certainly could have been that. But to me, it looked like it was hitting him in the face with his hands or his fist. The detail is not good enough for me to make that determination.
Did you hear what his son said?
Let me get to that. Let me finish.
Oh, okay.
Let me
go
finish.
ahead.
Yes, I got what his son said.
Okay, go ahead.
They got him up after they got him handcuffed, secured, so that he couldn't flail anymore. But he continued trying to push them away so he could get away. One idiot guy, and I have to call him that, with a bunch of feds on him. No, and he's got handcuffs on. Quit it. Stop it, dude. So they pushed him into the van. assisted him getting into the van because he wasn't going to go. Until the agents had the man on the ground, with the only thing left for him to do was to secure his hands, all was well. But what I saw, what I could interpret what I saw, there was absolutely no valid reason, none visible in the video that I saw, for anybody to have to strike him in the face or the hands or the head or wherever they were hitting him. The video was not clear. I'm sure you've seen it too. Here's where it bothers me. A bunch of that's one thing, but here's what it really bothered me too. Good old DHS headquarters, okay? Their first thing was there was a threat with the weed whacker. I can't argue with that because I wasn't there. He was not aggressively running at him, brandishing the weed whacker, but I've also seen stories. I've seen much better stories, much better video, where a guy would start a chainsaw up and hold it out towards the officers. And I don't think they were any ICE. I think they were drug guys, and threaten them with it. I've seen guys with a gas can and a cigarette lighter threatening to douse the officers with that and set them on fire. So yes, those are perceived threats that are real. What they perceived at that time, I cannot interpret what they saw. What I saw in secondhand Monday morning quarterbacking, looking at the video, I don't know how many times I looked at it, what my interpretation was from a viewpoint far away from where it was that I did not see that. I would not have perceived that as a threat from my position, but they were on the other side of the weed whacker, okay? His presence in this country was illegal. The agents were doing the job they were assigned to do, and all was fine until that one guy slapped or punched the man without justification. I'm going to make that assumption at this time, which I try not to do. Without justification, this agent's supervisors should now take punitive steps towards the agent after an investigation. If he has other similar situations that he's been involved in, this could become the final straw, and should. Now, let me just do something I just try not to do, but just to give the devil the benefit of the doubt here. Let's just say he's on the ground. This guy's trying to control him. And I know this because I've been there, trying to control him. And guess what? He bites him or tries to bite the agent. That is assault. That is not tolerated. And yes, I will pop you in the face at that point in time too, in a heartbeat. You're going to stop that. Would you not do it? I just ask you that. I don't know whether you would or not because you haven't been there. I have. I do not know. And here's the thing right now. Nobody has made that allegation that this guy tried to bite him or use that as a defense. If they come up with it now, it's a day late and a dollar short because they've had time to develop an excuse. And that would be an excuse. Now, for one of the three sons of this man in the Marine Corps, or I don't know whether this is a prior Marine or whether he's currently active, he said that that his daddy was not a bad man, that his daddy had filed some kind of papers, but he did not get into any real details, what, when, or where. The man is still listed as an illegal. Here's what I hope. There's been nothing that says this guy has done anything wrong inside this country other than being illegal. Hopefully, given his history, if that's the case in this country, if it's as clean as he's claiming, as his sons are claiming, as nobody else has found anything otherwise, I hope that our government will work to assist him. Unfortunately, 35 years ago, things were different, and actually they were a little bit easier for people to deal with the government than they are today because we've been overloaded with illegals. It's wrong, perhaps, what occurred, but arresting him, detaining him, picking him up was not wrong. That's what the cops are mandated to do. Now, did you see something differently on the video?
I saw him running.
Yep.
The whole scene is a disgrace to this country. The whole scene. A whole mess of masked men, even with their badges, running after like he was a drug dealer or a gang member or a rapist. The man was doing his work at IHOP. They could have gone a little slower and talked to him, one or two, not a half dozen of them charging him. And then you saw when the man was running, when he pulled the weed whacker, one guy tried to spray him, okay, tear gas. You look at the tape again, and he tried blocking that tear gas with his weed whacker. Look at that again, and you'll see it.
Now, put yourself in the shoes of that guy spraying him, and the guy swings a weed whacker.
The guy was pretty far away. He wasn't close to him. He was far away. Look at the distance.
I did.
There was no harm it was going to go. He was blocking the tear gas that the guy was using. What do you think about these masks? The only time I see masks
we talked about that
with agents is if it's a big drug cartel guy, and they don't want his gang going after these people, but these masks all over the place, innocent people. What do you think of that? Well, what is the sheriff's department in Jacksonville going to start wearing masks in the police department? When is that going to start?
There have been local drug agents, drug officers. I've still got one of the raid masks here somewhere. There are masks that police have worn for years and years and years on when they go in to kick doors in.
That's right. It's not new.
It's nothing new about this. Nothing new about this.
You're talking about a dangerous man that could be guns. We're talking about a whole different scenario here. And you're trying to say that everything is the same. This man you're talking about has been in this country for 30 years. And this is how they treat him. 3 of his sons, 2 of them still active duty, and 1 is just is a veteran. Is that how you would handle it if you were a cop?
Do you think that makes him not an illegal alien?
It doesn't make him into a dangerous person that you need all that brass.
Well, he had a
you go to get him. You go to arrest him. You do not know what he's going to do at that point in time, and you will take a team of people, 4 or 5, whatever, to bring down a person because you don't want to hurt him. Any one cop can stop him, but he's going to have to go to the hospital.
So that's just how you treat a veteran member, huh? A family member, huh? This is how you treat him, right?
He's not a veteran.
He's not a veteran. He hasn't served anything.
No, a father of 3 veterans. Mm-hmm. This is how you treat them. This is how you show respect for the veterans.
It's totally irrelevant.
Okay? No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No,
we'll have to disagree on that one.
Well, how long has he had to get his papers and become a citizen?
35 years.
35 years. And he chose to ignore that.
Exactly. Why did it take so long, Ray, for when you talk about immigration reform? Why hasn't this man, 30 years here, hardworking, his son said he worked 7 days a week, this man. And all of a sudden he's a criminal in your life.
No, he was a criminal the day he crossed the border.
Why is this man doesn't have a path to citizenship after 30 years in this great country? Why?
Well, how do you feel about you having to pay taxes? I'm having to pay taxes, and this gentleman is not having to pay taxes.
Listen, DHS gives Social Security to these people. Call them up and find out. DHS gives them Social Security numbers, and they pay taxes. I don't know where you get this. They don't pay any taxes. And by the way, when are they going to go to some Republican states? Why are they always digging with the Democrat states? When are they going to hit some Republican states? Let's see how you guys feel.
Why are you making it political all of a sudden?
Because it is political. He's only hitting the Democratic states. I haven't heard anything.
They were in North Carolina this week.
Yeah, they picked them up in North Carolina. Where? First of all, you go after where the people are. You don't.
I know.
You go where the illegals are.
You know, Rayford, I didn't realize how mean you really are.
I'm sorry.
These people, the man has been here for 30 years. You're the guys who say, come on over, the Statue of Liberty, come over for a better life. Okay? And now they're in here for 30 years. His sons dedicated their life for the military. And this is the respect you show them, and you're pouncing on it. This is what I don't understand with you. You amaze me the way you think. Really.
Well,
I'm really surprised at what I hear from you.
I'm sorry you feel that way, Theo.
Yeah, no, I'm really surprised of the way I'm.
If you think I'm going to feel bad about that, you're
Okay?
absolutely wrong.
Okay? No, I'm not wrong. I'm not wrong about this one.
I said, Theo, if that's the way you feel about it, I'm sorry for you. You're absolutely wrong that I'm mean.
No. You have a mean streak in you.
I have a realistic streak in me. You don't.
About these immigrants, okay? I hate to say that, but I thought you were a different person.
I'm assuming that you. I assume you took the path to citizenship the right way here into this country when you came in, right?
But Rafa, ask me something. What does asylum mean to you? When America says asylum, as long as you prove you're having trouble in your country. These people came to prove that they had trouble in their country for whatever reason, but you didn't have enough judges and people to vet them. So they came in, and then you sent them away because you didn't have enough people to cover these things. Who do you think that you're going to get a regular crew of 10 every day? No, there's going to be some chunks of people coming in, 1,000 or 2,000 that come in because there's Haiti. When Haiti got hit with that storm, there's a lot of people that left there at once. They got no time to go to be sponsored by somebody that come legally. Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking. When Cuba had the problem back in 2005, and they were coming with boats, they have no time to be sponsored, which takes a year to get sponsored for somebody. They were coming in boats, and the poor people were getting killed. The boats were overturning. And George Bush Jr. said, come in, and I'll give you a pass. After 5 years, you can become a citizen. Normal American stuff. Not the way you guys talk. I'm really surprised this is the Bible Belt, and they got people talking like that. Other human beings.
Theo, I just posted a link on our page on YouTube and Facebook that you can click on, and it explains who can get a Social Security number and who does not. So it's not like we've been handing out Social Security numbers to immigrants. We have not.
No, you have to qualify, but
you have to be
Homeland Security does give. That's how they get their Social Security. Illegal immigrants.
Homeland Security does not issue Social Security numbers.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That's the Department of Social Services.
This explains everything.
No.
You need to know. This is from the Social Security Administration.
So we already said that they're paying taxes when they buy.
No, they're not paying taxes.
Food, okay. This man has been working for 30 years. He gets put on the ground. It was like watching George Floyd again, with their knees on them or whatever they had on him, slapping the poor man. He was working in the heat, trying to make ends meet, working 7 days, and you're treating him like a criminal. Okay? And one of the ICE agents had his cap backwards. What, he's showing off? You think you're hot stuff? Huh? Where's your hat backwards?
Because
you're there to do a job. Now, I don't understand about these masks. Okay? Now, this is the land of the free and the brave. If you're brave, take the masks off. You're not dealing with drug dealers. In some cases, you're dealing with people, okay, normal people that are here making a living and having a family. You have to distinguish between one from the other, okay? You can't treat them like criminals. But, look what we're talking about. Look at this administration. What do you expect? Okay? Terrible what's going on, okay?
Okay.
You done?
Of course I'm done.
Okay. We'll see you next week.
Bye,
Okay.
Theo.
Bye.
Hey, and just in case you're wondering, flags are half-staffed today from sunrise to sunset. The governor of North Carolina has ordered all U.S. and NC state flags at state facilities to be lowered to half-staff from sunrise to sunset. This is in honor of Anti-Lynching Awareness Month. Did you know June is Anti-Lynching Awareness Month in North Carolina? I didn't even know we had one. It's a time to remember the victims of lynching and acknowledge the painful history of this practice. Governor Josh Stein has ordered U.S. and North Carolina flags.
Isn't
blah.
it about time to have an anti-crime month?
The purpose of this is Anti-Lynching Awareness Month aims to educate the public about lynching's history and its impact on individuals, families, and communities.
Get back to me on that one day when I care.
I was just like,
Lynching is an illegal act. Hanging
Right.
is not.
lynching was a form of racial terrorism, primarily targeting African Americans,
Okay. Oh, no.
and was used to enforce social control and maintain white supremacy.
Lynching was a use, and it was used. It had nothing to do with race. It was used in the Western states as well, because there are a whole lot of people. You steal a man's horse, and they lynch you on the spot. You did anything in the criminal activity, black, white, pink, yellow, or
Well-
Indian, you could be lynched, and they were in the South, and in the North. In the northern states, slaves were hanged. And after all of those, after slavery was gone, there was lynchings up until in the 1930s?
The whole problem I have with this, that they're flown at half staff today, is June is anti-lynching
He just
awareness
got around
month.
to it. He just thought about it.
It appears to me that, let's do something to mark this.
Yes.
And another thing that bothered me, and I researched it because I thought, can a governor have the United States
Yes.
flag flown at half staff for something like he decided to throw out there all of a sudden? Which these are the reasons why a governor is given the power to do that, and the circumstances, the death of state officials or former officials, we know that, the death of a member of the armed forces from the state who dies on active duty, yes, the death of a first responder from the state who dies in the line of duty, and national or state tragedies.
Yes.
So, because he decides to honor something on the last day of the month and orders the United States flag half staff, I don't know. I have an issue personally with that.
It's okay. Whatever he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, I think awareness is something great, but this waiting till the last day seems
if
like
the only thing you're going to do is fly a flag at half staff instead of talking about the whole racial issue, which is
Right.
what he's trying to say here.
yes,
North Carolina, we didn't hang horse thieves. In Wyoming, they did. In Texas, they did. And, wherever else they did. And they didn't care about color. We did hang, unfortunately. We did not hang them. We lynched them. People lynched people.
Right.
The state of North Carolina hanged people, or other states. That's how we executed them, was by hanging, illegal hanging.
Right.
Lynching them is an illegal act, always has been an illegal act. And yes, awful things that were done.
I just don't like the way they waited till the last day. Oh, let's put their flags at half staff. Where was the rest of the month if we're going to bring out awareness on this? Why are we waiting till the last
Why
minute?
are we not looking at the 121 people that currently are residing on death row that have been deemed so heinous, the murders that they committed so heinous, that a jury of 12 people said, you must die? Why aren't we honoring the individuals that they murdered during their time on Earth?
Well, like I said, I didn't even know there was an awareness month
why don't we fly the
which
flag
I'm
at
fine
half,
with it.
fly the flag at half staff for the victims of murders by the scum that walk among us, and that we continue to feed? Why aren't we honoring those individuals? Why aren't we honoring the families of those individuals? Why are we not making the
Right.
families of the people who did it? Why aren't we not making the families and the descendants of the murdering scum pay restitution to the victims' families? Why are we not doing that? Don't get me started. You've already done it now. You and Theo
Okay,
together.
let me go to something else real quick since we're out of time. Last night I posted on our Facebook page this cool video about how they transport the presidential motorcade, how all that works, because I've always been interested in, like Marine One takes them from wherever he's at to the air base to where Air Force One is at.
Yeah.
Tells you about the history of Air Force One, which is very, very interesting. And then it takes you to where how they transport, because no matter where he's at, he's always in the same beast. The beast, the car, the beast.
Yeah.
In the same black limos and the same black SUVs. It's like watching Criminal Minds. You see them first in the air, then you see them in the black SUVs, and you're like, how did they get that? Do they just call Enterprise ahead of time and say we need black SUVs? But it's a very, very interesting video. You'll learn a lot of good information off of it. And it comes into where the military plays a big role in this. Marine for the Marine One helicopters, and then the Air Force for the sea. What was it? The big planes that actually take the vehicles and other stuff. You watch them drive the beast and the other vehicles onto the aircraft, the airplane, and it's just very, very
How would you like to have
interesting.
the responsibility of backing that thing out of the airplane, and then you slide off the ramp?
Not me.
Oh
but,
my God!
Yeah, let's
I
see.
broke the beast, Mr. President.
This does heavy cargo, such as official vehicles and communication gear, is transported using specialized aircraft such as a Boeing C-17, a Globemaster III. But because I've often wondered that, but it goes into the whole thing, who plans it, how everything is done. I found the video fascinating, so I shared it last night on our page. So
I usually call it travel advisor.
Be sure, travel advisor.
And so they can book some rooms and stuff.
Yeah, but even talks about who actually does that. So it was interesting. I think anybody, if you've got a minute, click on it and watch it.
Keeping our government alive and working is an expensive process.
Yes, it
And
is.
sometimes you wonder, is it all necessary?
And just because the plane that he flies on is called Air Force One, any plane that he flies on is dubbed Air Force One because it's not the name of
George Bush II, Jr.
Right.
When he was, you can see, he was Air National Guard, right?
Mm-hmm.
The day that he flew out to an aircraft carrier, he took the helm. It's a two-seater. It's a two-seater. That became Air Force One when he was aboard.
Yeah. Whatever the president
That's
on.
the designation that they use when they radioed in.
Right.
Can you imagine it's a two-seater, one pilot and George Bush aboard the airplane?
Right.
Now, there's a story to tell your children in the future, right?
Yes.
They didn't let him land aboard the carrier.
I mean, this video, it talks about how the paint, the paint job, the way Air Force is.
Bullets and missiles bound off that.
Well, they talk about the paint scheme is what I'm trying to think. It was actually Jacqueline Kennedy who came up with that with the help of a very famous interior design person. Artist.
Okay. We got to go. We'll see you on Monday morning. Hopefully, if you get a chance, you want to come out to the ham thing tomorrow, bring it on. We're all friendly out there. And
the time is lunch.
Just don't bring any ham and eggs because we get
Get very offended by that?
Yeah, we're offended. You cook up some ham out there, we get offended.
I'm bringing it.
Unless you bring enough for us.
Right.
Meanwhile, have a great weekend. It's going to be hot. And be careful out there.
Be careful.
I'm not even going to tell you to stay hydrated. If you're dumb enough not to, then we'll talk about you next week.
Wow. Oh, I hope not. I hope everyone's careful. Yes.
Don't keep the EMS units running busy because you do something stupid. You're live and local, real talk. We're awake, not woke, and we will see you Monday morning. Have a great weekend.